Alright, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my official 2023 NBA draft big board. I'm ranking my top 30 prospects in this draft, and as always, I would take these guys in a best player available format, so these are all the guys that I would take in the first round. I have them ranked into 5 different tiers. I also have 5 honorable mentions that you guys can put them around like 28 to 30, and I really wouldn't care too much. This is actually my first ever big board video, so I'm excited to see how this turns out in a year or two from now. And yeah, drop a like if you guys do enjoy this draft style of content. Let me know down below what you agree with or disagree with, and hey, if you want to give me your top 10 ranking in this draft, please let me know in the comments. So we have a bunch of prospects to talk about, so let's get into it. Let's get into these honorable mentions. We have forward Noah Clowney, one of the first guys out. We have James Najee, one of the better big men in this draft, even though it's a thin position. We have Bobby Klintman out of Wake Forest. He's got a lot of hype as of late. I still don't have a first round grade on him. And then we have Oliver Maxence Prosper. I wanted to get him in here. He's just really the first guy out. Another honorable mention I have is kind of a shocking one. It's Jet Howard out of Michigan. I 100% believe that Jet Howard is going to go in the top 25 in this draft. He's just a player that I'm a little bit lower on than some other people, and you got to take a risk like that. I don't want to have my top 30 be the consensus top 30. I want to be a little bit different, and I'm going against Jet Howard, but I really hope he succeeds in the NBA though. So coming in at number 30 in tier 5, we have Marcus Sasser, the senior point guard out of Houston. Sasser had a great college career for the Cougars after only being a 3-star athlete coming out of high school. He's on the older side in this draft. He'll be 23 years old when the NBA season starts. He's a point guard, but he's comfortable playing off ball as well. He was a great scorer this past year in the AAC, and he's a world-class defender in this draft class. I know he's on the older side, but I think he should definitely go in the first round, especially to a team that is looking to add some defense to their possible championship run in 2024. And he's a great spot-up shooter from the left side of the floor as well. He should definitely go in the first round in my opinion. Next up, we have GG Jackson out of South Carolina. The discourse on this guy has been crazy. Some people have them in their top 10, and then other people like me have him at the end of the first round. He was a top prospect coming out of high school. He committed to North Carolina, then he decommitted before his freshman season, and then committed to USC, South Carolina. He really stood out in high school with his YouTube mixtapes, and it garnered him a lot of hype going into his freshman year. But he really disappointed at South Carolina this year, and they were a bad team, so I'm not going to put that all on him, but he did shoot 38% from the field, 67% from 3. He had some questionable. I would take him in the first round, but it would be at the end of it. Next up at 28, we have Sidy Cissoko out of the G League. I love what he can provide on the defensive end already. He's got active hands, he's got a quick reflex, and he can dive into the passing lanes. I'm a little bit worried about his jump shot coming into the next level. I really hope that he gets drafted by a team that has a patient player development staff that can work on his jump shot throughout the first 3 years in the NBA. I think he has a really high upside, but I do think a lot needs to go his way on the offensive side of the ball. Coming in at number 27, we have Trace Jackson Davis out of Indiana. He was one of the better collegiate players in all of college basketball last year. He spent 4 years at Indiana. He's already 23 years old. He is 6'9", which scares me a little bit at the next level because he can't shoot the ball at all. So is he going to be a 4? Is he going to be a 5? In my opinion, though, he's one of the better defensive shot blockers in this draft. And like Marcus Sasser, I would love if he went to a team that's competing for a championship next year because I think he can provide some great backup big men for a team that wants to win it all next year. At number 26, we have Chris Murray, the brother of Kings breakout star last year, Keegan Murray. He's your typical 3-and-D guy coming out of college. Like Sasser and Jackson Davis, he's going to be on the older side. He's going to be 23 when the season starts, but he went from a role player to a 20+ per game scorer at Iowa and was also a lead defensive playmaker for them. Definitely doesn't have as high of an upside as his brother Keegan, but he is going to be a good player. Like Jackson Davis, like Sasser, I hope he goes to a team that is ready to win now and can provide some great shooting off the bench for that team. I just don't think he's going to be a top 20 guy in this class. Next up at 25, we have Brandon Podziemski out of Santa Clara. Didn't play in the best conference last year, but I really like what he could do as a playmaking point guard. He's 6'5", he's going to be 20 years old when the season starts. He's been one of the bigger risers in this pre-draft process. He's a fantastic rebounder for a guard as well, and he's a great 3-point shooter. I'm interested to see how his defense is going to translate at the next level. I would 100% take Podziemski in the first round, and he's one of my guys in this draft. I mentioned Santa Clara was a small school. Well, we have Maxwell Lewis at 24, who even went to a smaller school at Pepperdine. He's one of the better scorers finishing at the rim in this draft. I really think he could be a 3-level scorer at the NBA level. He's 6'7" at a premier position. He's one of the best scorers in my opinion in this draft, and he's coming in at number 24. Coming in at number 23, we have Keontae George out of Baylor. Like Jet Howard, George is a guy that I'm a little bit lower on than the rest of the NBA draft community. I thought he was fairly inconsistent sometimes at this past year for Baylor. I didn't love his shot selection either, and that's a thing that I look at when I'm scouting these players. He does have great scoring potential. I'm a little bit worried on how it's going to translate to the next level. In 5 years, this could be a guy that I was super low on, and this was kind of me being arrogant, but I'm going to stick with this take, and I have Keontae George at 23. At 22, we have another another guy that has a very low floor but a very high ceiling, and that's Bilal Koulibaly out of the Mets 92 in France. Koulibaly, more than probably anybody, has been just increasing his draft stock as of late, still playing in the playoffs over there in France. He's 6'8" at 18 years old, so throughout his whole rookie season, he's going to be 19, younger than a bunch of guys that I just mentioned. His ceiling is an all-star two-way player in this league, and I think that's going to enamor some teams to take him in the lottery where I expect him to go. He's just my 22nd ranked player in this draft. Next up at 21, we have another G League Ignite player in Leonard Miller. The one thing about Leonard Miller and why I have him low is his defensive inconsistency, especially this past year at the G League Ignite. He does have lapses off the ball sometimes, which is just frustrating to watch because he has all the potential to be a great defender. I also don't love his decision making on the offensive side of the ball, like a couple other guys in this draft as well. His shot selection isn't great. I just watch this guy and I think he could be such a good player in the NBA if he's under the right development staff, and that's why I don't have him in my top 20. At number 20, we have Ryan Rupert, also out of France. I really like Rupert's playmaking over there in France this year and his defense as well. He averaged over 2 steals in a pretty competitive league. He, along with some other guys in this draft that I just mentioned, definitely need to hit the weight room once they get in the NBA, but at 6'7", the world is his oyster if he develops into his size and can be physical at the next level. He projects to be one of the better defenders in this draft class, and I could 100% see it. He's coming in at number 20. Coming in at 19, we have Colby Jones out of Xavier. I'm higher on Colby Jones than some other people, and I kind of hope he goes later in the draft to a team that isn't a win now type of mindset. Jones was a fantastic scorer at Xavier last year. He was a very plus 3-point shooter. I do hope his free throw percentage gets better at the NBA level though, because that could be huge for his player development. He was also a great playmaker as well. I love his decision making with the ball in his hands. He doesn't have as high as a ceiling as some of these other guys below him, like a Sissoko or Rupert or Bilal, but I really think his floor is pretty high, and that's why I think he should go in the first round and in the top 20 if I was an NBA GM. Alright, so that was my tier 5. Let's get into tier 4. Starting off at 18, we have Dariq Whitehead out of Duke. Alright, this is a guy that I really didn't love in his freshman season, and I think a lot relies on how well he's going to stay healthy at the next level. He's had multiple foot injuries so far, and if those just kind of keep constantly nagging him at the next level, he's just never going to develop into his potential. But man, if he stays healthy, he could be one of the better 3-point shooters in the NBA. He's turning 19 in August, and he was already one of the better 3-point shooters in the NCAA last year for Duke when he played. He's a great off-ball shooter, and if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be a top 20 player in this class, but that's a big if. He can stay healthy. At 17, we have Jalen Hood-Schifino out of Indiana. He's a point guard that, like some of these other guys, has just gotten so much hype over the last couple of weeks in this draft. He's a good mid-range shooter. I think he's improved his 3-point shot, and he's also a solid free throw shooter in this class. Sometimes, though, he can be inconsistent from the 3-point line, and I wonder how that's going to translate to the next level. He's not as athletic as some of these other point guards above him, and I didn't love him in transition. I'm still a big fan of JHS. Coming in at number 16, and this may surprise some of you guys, it's Nick Smith Jr. out of Arkansas. Now, like Whitehead, Nick Smith had a bunch of injuries this season. He got injured, like a major one, basically 5 games into his freshman year. Then he missed 2 months with a knee injury, and for any 18-year-old, that's going to be tough to come back from. I think he'd be a great complementary combo guard on offense to maybe somebody that's a lead scorer. I think he's a good cutter, good slasher on the offensive end when he's off the ball. He had 3 20-plus point performances towards the end of the year. I highly recommend watching those because I think that's what Nick Smith can be at the next level when he's healthy. He's going to get a full offseason to get healthy for his rookie year. He's going to be under NBA development staffs, training staffs. I'm still high on Nick Smith after watching his high school tape, and I still think he's a top 20 guy in this class. Next up at 15, we have Derek Lively out of Duke. Lively has been impressing so many people throughout his individual workouts, especially because of his 3-point shot, because we already know that he can be an elite rim protector in the NBA, and if he develops a 3-point shot, he's going to be super valuable at the center position. We'll see how much involved he could be at the next level, because if he's not really getting the ball too much, what is he going to be doing on the offensive end? Is he going to be a primary screen setter? Is he going to be a roller? I actually do like his passing ability at the center position. I'm excited to see what he could do at the next level. So yeah, he's coming in at number 15. At number 14, we have Bryce Sensabaugh out of Ohio State. Sensabaugh was one of the best offensive players in all of collegiate basketball last season. He was a great scorer in the half court, coming off screens and dribble handoffs, or just pick and roll sets, or cutting to the rim. He could kind of do it all. He was a good 2-point scorer, good 3-point scorer, great free throw shooter, and he's coming in at number 14. At 13, we have Anthony Black out of Arkansas. This also might surprise a couple of you guys. Man, it's just hard for me to evaluate Anthony Black. I didn't really expect much of him going into the season. Thought he could be somebody like closer to the 20th spot, 25 spot, and he really made the most out of Nick Smith missing games for the Razorbacks this season. He was a very good defender, very good rebounder, good playmaker. I'm just worried about his shooting at the next level. I don't love his jump jump shot. He shot 45% from the field, 30% from 3, and 70% from the line. I really think it's going to be hard to justify a top 10 pick on him if you don't think he could be a plus 3-point shooter and free throw shooter at the next level. But if you do, take him inside of the top 10. But for me, I'm being conservative, and I have him at 13. At number 12, a guy that's going to be compared a lot to Anthony Black is Cason Wallace. Wallace, in my opinion, is the best perimeter guard defender in this draft. He's great on ball, off ball, at the top of the key, and I like his shot a little bit more than Anthony Black. He was a better 3-point and free throw shooter this past year at Kentucky, and at worst, he could be one of the better defenders in the NBA. I have him at 12. At number 11, I have Grady Dick out of Kansas. Grady was a phenomenal 3-point shooter last year, but I think we need to talk about his defense a little bit more because I think he was very good on that side of the ball, and he's not known to be just the shooter in this draft. He is skinnier and he definitely needs to put on some weight at the next level, but he does have the size and I think the athletic ability to be a good defender at the next level because I do think he was underrated in that aspect at Kansas. He's not much of a playmaker or even a shot creator, but he's going to be one of the better shooters out of this draft class 100%. And my last player in tier 4, coming in at the number 10 spot, we have Jordan Hawkins out of UConn. Hawkins may be a little bit overrated after his championship run, but that's pretty much what we could see out of him at the next level. Good 3-point shooter, good defender, smart basketball player, doesn't turn it over, great free throw shooter, and that's just a perfect guy to have at like your 10th overall spot. I do also think, like Dick, that Jordan Hawkins needs to add some weight, muscle at the next level to be a better defender on the perimeter, but either way, I have him at 10, and he's the last player in tier 4 for me. So, first player in tier 3 at the number 9 spot, we have Taylor Hendricks out of UCF. Basically, everybody's favorite player in this class, not named Wemby. Because Hendricks is a 6'9" freshman out of UCF that could score, rebound, shot block, and oh yeah, shoot the 3 ball. He shot 39% from 3 at UCF this year, and I can see why people are falling in love with him. I do think he's in like that tweener spot at 6'9". Is he going to be guarding 4s at the next level? Is he going to be guarding 5s? I think he also needs to work on his ball handling and his shot creation because he's not going to be a spot-up shooter at the next level. He's going to have to do a little bit more if you're investing a top 10 pick into it. But there's a reason why he's going possibly in top 7 in people's mocks. He's got the defense, he's got the floor spacing to be a top 10 player in this class. At number 8, a player that I'm maybe as high on as maybe anybody else in this class, and it's Kobe Buffkin out of Michigan. Kobe will be 20 when the season starts, but he really was just phenomenal for the Wolverines last year. He was a sophomore in Michigan, and he was the youngest player on their roster. I do wonder if he's going to be a point guard or a shooting guard primarily at the next level because his assist numbers weren't there, but I do love his floor vision. He was a good 3-point shooter, good free throw shooter. He's got a high work rate on the defensive end. He's got quick hands and a great length to be a good defender at the next level. I'm high on Buffkin. I would take him in the top 10 if I was a GM. At number 7, we have Amen Thompson of the Overtime Elite. Now, he's one half of the Thompson twins. These guys are going to have the most discourse out of anybody leading up to the pre-draft process because they played in the Overtime Elite, which was a god-awful league. You watch any of these games and it's really hard to watch. But boy, oh boy, is this guy freaking athletic. He's got a great ball handle. He's one of the best passers in this draft. He was great at finishing at the rim, shot 56% from the field. He's not a great shooter though, and that's something he's definitely going to have to work on in the next level. I hope he gets drafted into the right situation that can give him time to develop and work on his shot, but not be his primary focus when he comes into the league because I like his defensive upside. Like I said, he's a great passer. He's a top 10 player in this class 100%. At number 6, we have Cam Whitmore out of Villanova. Now, I just mentioned that Amen Thompson, great passer, and I think Cam Whitmore can be fine as a pure passer, but his core vision isn't great. He does have tunnel vision coming into this draft. He had one of the worst assist-to-turnover ratios last year. He averaged 0.7 assists a night. He averaged 1.6 turnovers a night. He's also not a great free throw shooter, and his 3-point shot wasn't great, but it also wasn't the worst at Nova. But he does have a high basketball IQ. He looks a little bit slower and he's a little bit thicker in his frame, but he can really get to the rim with his first step, and he's a crafty, creative scorer, and he's coming in at number 6. At number 5, we have Jarris Walker out of Houston. Walker is a physical power forward that I think needs time to develop. He isn't going to come in right now and be an all defensive caliber player. He still gets beat on the defensive side of the ball when you bring him up in pick and rolls on the perimeter. I do like his shot as well. I think it's going to take time to develop to be a consistent 3-point shooter at the next level, and I hope teams are patient with him because I think the shot will come. Because every reason that people love Taylor Hendricks in this draft, I think Jarris Walker could be better in most of those traits that people love about Hendricks, and he's my 5th ranked player. Coming in at number 4, the last spot in tier 4 is Ausar Thompson, the twin brother of Amen. Thompson, like his twin brother, can really play defense, man. I think he has the size, the frame, the length to be a great defender at the next level. He's quick enough to be, I think, an impact defender right away. I also like his shot more than his twin brother. He did only shoot 34% from 3 last year and 70% from the line, but his shot just greatly improved from year 1 to year 2 at the Overtime Elite. He doesn't have that hitch, that slow release like his twin brother does. He's got to put on weight and more strength to be more physical at the next level. He'll be going up against NBA size physical centers. I think he could be an All-NBA player one day, and he's coming in at number 4. He was the last spot in tier 3. Let's go into tier 2 now. And at number 3, we have Brandon Miller, the 6'9" wing out of Alabama, who was a fantastic 3-point and free throw shooter for the Crimson Tide last year. He was a great spot-up shooter. He's a very solid playmaker as well. I mean, a 6'9" shot-creating wing at the NBA level coming in at 19 is just so valuable. There is the off-the-court issues, but he's going to go top 3 in this draft, and he's my 3rd-ranked player. Coming in at number 2, we have Scoot Henderson, the last spot in tier 2, the point guard out of the G League Ignite. I think you really got to watch Scoot Henderson's first year in the G League last year to really get the full understanding of what he is as a player, because it was kind of locked in that he was going to be a top 5 pick going into this year, so I think he really didn't try as hard or really play as much in the G League Ignite. He's a physical point guard, man. I know he's on the smaller side at 6'2", but he's strong, he's physical, he can rebound great for his size, he's a phenomenal playmaker, he's great in transition, he's so quick with the ball, and he could be your franchise point guard, that floor general that you need to develop some other guys on your team as well. He's my 2nd ranked player in this draft, and if I were Charlotte, I would take him at 2, even if you have LaMelo Ball. And at number 1, in a tier of his own, it's Victor Wembanyama. It's crazy that Wemby is still playing meaningful games over in France right now, when he's been locked in as the number 1 pick for the last year and a half. He can start possessions and finish them better than anybody in this class by a wide margin. He could be an elite rim protector, just overall defender at the next level, and we all know what he could do as a shot-creating 7'5" big on the offensive end. He does need to put on more weight as well, only weighing 220 pounds, but that will come in over time. Just look at what Giannis did and Kristaps Porzingis when they were drafted. I'm interested to see how he's going to defend in space when he's brought up to the key against smaller, quicker players that he's going up against, but he's a 7'5" floor spacer that can also dribble the ball like a point guard. Yeah, he's the consensus number 1 player in this draft. So I hope you guys enjoyed my NBA big board. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this, put a lot of time into it, so drop a like if you did. I'm super excited for the 2023 NBA draft. I will be live streaming the whole first round on my channel here, so make sure you're subscribed. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.